Okay, brethren, we're going to have a split session today. I'd like to give you all the opportunity to talk about the Republican primary debate in South Carolina last night. Did anybody here watch it? Nobody watched it? Nobody watched it. Okay. Anybody did it? It was online. Did anybody online watch it? Well, anyway, I'll give you my opinion of it. Who's there?
Nobody.
Nobody's there. I'll give you my opinion of it. I think that that Donald Trump melted down last night. So anyway, so this is my evaluation of the debate from Saturday night. Donald Trump melted down. I'm sorry to say, he had a meltdown, and he was very unprofessional, and he came out swinging, you know, and he attacked Jeb Bush, and he attacked Jeb Bush. Well, mostly he attacked Jeb Bush. There's a real enmity between him and I heard there's a real enmity between him and Jeb Bush, and after the in his interview after the debate, Jeb Bush was interviewed, and he said that he tried to shake Donald's hand, and Donald walked away. And I saw that at the very end, when they all come out from behind their podiums. I think it was 4 of them were like milling around together, and Trump just walked off the stage, you know. So apparently he's under a very heavy attack, and he didn't deal with it very well last night. He said, and Cruz did not deny it. He said that Cruz is using robocalls, doing the same thing that he did to Ben Carson in Iowa. And he said he didn't know about it in Iowa, but he must know about it now. Making robocalls telling everybody that Trump is dropping out, and they shouldn't waste their vote, and they should vote for Cruz. Very ungodly, you know. So so he called Cruz on it. He let everybody know, and I think that that Jeb Bush is spending, I think he said $11 million to promote negative ads about him, and apparently he's very upset about it. Do you all know that Justice Scalia died yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. So how that affected him, I don't know. But I'm not going to lie about it, you know, he had a meltdown. But what's interesting, though, is that despite his meltdown, which to me the major problem with his meltdown is that he didn't look presidential. See, he didn't look presidential. That's the main problem that I have with his meltdown. But the man's still speaking the truth where no one else is speaking the truth. I don't know that anyone else would have come out about Ted Cruz like that. And but he did attack. And Jeb, you know, in previous debates, Jeb started it. Jeb was just there minding his own business. It was a very peaceful beginning. And there was such hostility coming out of Trump that it was disturbing me. And I think that it was disturbing me to the point that I really didn't even concentrate the way I would have on all of the answers. But this is, I'm just telling you the truth first, okay? And he came out. I listened to the liberal pundits on Fox News last night, and of course they always make nothing of him. But they were saying that his big mistake was that he came against President George W. Bush. So apparently he's no fan of President George W. Bush, and apparently he believes which this is what was shocking, he believes the rhetoric of the left that George Bush lied about the weapons of mass destruction, and that was like shocking to everybody in the audience, that a Republican candidate for president would speak the Democratic Party line, that George Bush lied. But what's interesting, so that they're saying that was his big mistake. He didn't look presidential. He completely melted down, and one of the pundits used that word, and I can't deny it. It's true. And I have to tell you, even in his meltdown, I don't see anything vicious in the man. I really don't. I just don't see anything vicious in him. You know? But he came out swinging. Very unpresidential. What's interesting, though, is that everybody in the audience was shocked when he said that about President Bush. At this point, I don't know what I believe. I worked on President Bush's campaign, so I didn't believe anything that was said about him. But today, I'm a 9/11 truther, and I believe that President Bush knew about the attack. He knew that it was going to happen. Did he lie about the weapons of mass destruction? I think that he may not have. From what I understand, all of the intelligence reports, well, this is interesting, all of the intelligence reports said that there were weapons of mass seduction there under Saddam in Iraq. But I'm not sure what Donald meant, you know. See, he doesn't have the skills to express himself that the other candidates have. If President Bush knew about the attack, okay, and the CIA and our shadow government, there's a shadow American government that was in on it, well then all of the reports coming from the CIA and the FBI were false. And if it was a conspiracy, if it was a false flag operation, which was a conspiracy, well, why a conspiracy? Because they passed the Patriot Act after that, which has removed habeas corpus and taken major freedoms away from us. That Patriot Act has destroyed the Bill of Rights. And he went into Afghanistan, and the party line on his gun, which I believe, you know, of his going into Afghanistan, is that, and this I believe is true, that there were United Nations, I don't know what the correct word is, but there were reprimands from the United Nations against Saddam. So George Bush went in on the legality of the reprimands. Reprimand is not the right word. He had legal right to go in based upon the United Nations condemnation of Saddam. Although none of the supposed bombers came from Iraq, but now we know there weren't even any planes. You know. So this is what I'm thinking. If in fact President Bush knew that the attack was coming, then the CIA not only knew about it, but was involved in it, and the information that he got from all of us, from all of our intelligence agencies, was false. And if Donald happens to know that, then it's true that George Bush lied. So what I find very interesting is that going without saying, the whole audience was shocked, and they showed pictures of the audience shaking their head, no. And then Jeb Bush says, I'm really tired of him attacking my family, and he said, yes, the one to blame for 9/11 is Bill Clinton, who knew all about bin Laden and could have had him. And this, I believe, certainly that's what they're telling us, that Clinton was warned about bin Laden, and the CIA said we can arrest him, you know, if you want to do it now, and Bill Clinton didn't do it. So it was all his fault. But I knew this, you know. Donald got it in. It was really interesting how all of the uproar settled down, and in the last couple of seconds he said, George Bush knew about bin Laden also. He was warned by the CIA, and he didn't do anything about it also. And I've heard that, you know, that he had the same reports from the CIA that Bill Clinton had, and he didn't do anything about it either. And it was like dead silence, see? And I said, wow, all of these people in the audience, it's just amazing what's going on in this country. There's so much truth out there on the internet, and so many intelligent people that either don't know about it, or they do know about it, but their minds are so controlled, and I was one of those people. Their minds are so controlled that they don't even consider it. And what Donald Trump did was he burst through that screen, he burst through that film of mind control, he burst through that invisible glass that's blinding everybody. And he actually spoke the truth from a debate of the Republican Party, which is, I mean, it would have just never happened. Something happened that would have just never happened. And when I listened to the pundits afterwards on Fox News, only one of them mentioned that he brought conspiracy theories to the Republican debate. It was like the others may not even have heard about it. Well, at least they were acting like they didn't have a clue as to what he was talking about. That he was preaching the Democratic Party line. One person said conspiracy theories. And I went before the Lord last night and I said, Lord, I believe you are in complete control. Well, between Scalia dying, which dangerously upsets the balance of the Supreme Court, and we'll talk about that more a little later. I said, Lord, it's just crazy what's going on here. This was terrible, a terrible blow to Trump's campaign. And I said, well, maybe he's not presidential. If Donald Trump is not your man, who is your man? Because I am not sold out to Donald Trump. I am sold out to the Lord Jesus Christ. See? I'm not sold out to Donald Trump. So I said, if he's not your man, who is your man? I've lost all confidence in Ted Cruz. As a matter of fact, his tactics are disgusting me. And I'll say more about that shortly. I'm trying to get everything in here. And I did not get the answer until I sat down in this chair and started talking to you. Look at what came out. Look at what came out because Donald Trump lost it. He brought the truth to a Republican primary debate that the people were just in complete shock. Maybe God used it to break that shield off of their mind. George W. knew about bin Laden also and did nothing about it. Dead silence. Something profound happened. Well, actually, it's not true that I didn't know why. The Lord did answer me yesterday. And what he said to me is, he said the establishment has to let go of the democratic system. They have that establishment chokehold that they have on the government has to be broken. So I'm not telling you what to do, and I'm not prophesying to you, but I'm telling you it's my belief that Donald Trump is God's man. He's not perfect. He's very imperfect, and he's made a lot of mistakes. But I believe that he's everything that we think he is, except he's not polished on the outside. He's not polished on the outside. And we don't know what's in the heart of the other candidates. They're just polished enough to not say it. And so that I heard yesterday. But what I just told you, this was the first time I realized it, that God used Donald. Was he out of control? I don't know if he was out of control. I don't know if he was out of control. He was saying whatever he thinks, which he always does, but he was angry, you know. So, what's also interesting is when I saw Donald interviewed after the debate, he stood up and he called Ted Cruz a liar. And I think Ted Cruz is lying about him. And Ted, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. So Donald said, to me the man is very sincere. He's a diamond in the rough, okay? And he's never been a politician in his life, and he's making mistakes. But I think he can do the job. You know? And he can do the job well enough that he should be elected to break the power of the establishment. And I still believe that. So Donald said, he said, now listen to this, he said, I'm a Christian. He said, I'm a Christian, but Ted Cruz is the one that's standing there with the Bible up there lying about me. And I want to tell you that he made a point. So, who was going to say, and I heard Glenn Beck, I can't take watching him anymore, pretty much implying that Donald Trump is not a Christian, saying when Donald Trump went to Liberty University, he had to get one of his helpers to give him a scripture to use. You know. So, who are you to say he's not a Christian, Mr. Beck, when you complain that Christians say you're not a Christian because you're a Mormon? Who is it who decides who is a Christian? And if we have to choose between two men who name the name of Jesus, one who knows the scripture and goes to church regularly, and the other who doesn't go to church regularly and doesn't know the scripture, but lives a fair and decent life, who is the true Christian? And I want to tell you, personal preferences aside, according to my understanding of the scripture, the true Christian is the one that is a Christian in his heart, that treats other men decently, and plays fair in business, and doesn't get into dirty business. So I would have to agree with Donald Trump that he's the true Christian, based on what Ted Cruz is doing. He's doing very underhanded things. And in Iowa, he did the same thing. He said, well, it wasn't robocalls, but his people were out there saying that Ben Carson is going to drop out, they shouldn't waste their vote. And he used a mass mailing of, from what I understand, and I've received them in the mail. I ignore them now, I get them all the time in the mail. A mailing that makes it look like it's a government document giving you instructions. That's what Ted Cruz used to get the people to vote for him in Iowa. So, who's the true Christian? Yeah. Who's the true Christian? Who's the one, when in the last debate, when Ben Carson messed up and he didn't hear his name, and he was just standing in the wings because he didn't know what to do? Ted Cruz walked right past him. Donald Trump waited for him, talked to him, explained to him what happened, and let him go first. Who's the true Christian? You tell me who's the true Christian. So this is getting very interesting, you know, very, very interesting. So the big question now, they say 80% of the people in South Carolina are pro-George W. Bush. Is this going to hurt Donald? It didn't hurt him on the Drudge poll, but I don't know about nationwide. I don't know. We'll see. But everything's just very interesting with Donald Trump. And also, he was asked, if you're president, who would you, I might not be phrasing the question exactly as it was phrased. Who will you appoint for the Supreme Court? I think there were going to be 3 openings on the Supreme Court, 3 or 4 openings on the Supreme Court. Would you appoint a conservative, or who would you appoint? And Ted Cruz said, he will appoint liberal justices. Well, how do you know that, Mr. Cruz? Yeah? How do you know he will appoint liberal justices? How do you know that? How dare you say that? Why? And when Donald was asked, he didn't answer. And I'll tell you why he didn't answer. He was asked twice. I'll tell you why he didn't answer. Because in all of his studies, in his research, and his experts that he's brought in to advise him, and of all the things he's ever thought about, he never thought about that. Who he would appoint for who he would put up for nomination for the Supreme Court justices. He's been focusing on other issues, thinking that he had time to deal with that issue. So you have to give the man credit for not answering the question when he didn't know the answer. So he didn't answer the question. And that's what Ted Cruz said, and I don't see that he had any reason to say that. Yeah, I mean, that was just completely very low below the belt. So it looks like he's swinging very low below the belt. He's certainly not Glenn Beck's fair-haired boy, you know. He's, and Donald said he's a nasty man, that's why. And you might remember that was one of the things that Donald had said about him, that he has a reputation in the Senate for being nasty, nobody likes him. And Donald, but he said it last night out of distress. He said he's a very nasty man. He really, in other words, he really is a very nasty man. So it was very intense. It was so intense, to tell you the truth, I had to fight to not shut it off, because I'm still struggling with his reflux, and I'm doing better. And I said, oh God, I don't want to get a relapse from the stress. I'm telling you, that was actually an issue in my mind. But I hung in there, and it didn't affect me. I'm getting better every day. So it was really, really hot and heavy. We'll see what will happen. And Jeb Bush, he really did attack Jeb Bush. I believe he started it with Jeb Bush. But Jeb Bush is publishing negative ads about him. I don't know exactly what they're saying. And Jeb was really offended that Donald came against his brother. And he said he was going to uninvite him to the rally, which George Bush is going to be speaking. He's going to be speaking, I don't know when. You know, the primary is on Saturday. We're arriving on Friday. Somebody told me the primary was on Monday. No, the primary is on Saturday. At least that's what they said, that's what the news media said yesterday. So we're arriving on Friday. I don't know what city he's speaking. I doubt that he'll be speaking where we are. We're in a little suburb. But that's what happened last night. And one thing which was a little disappointing, well, we can't agree with everything that he says. So it was either one of them, it was either Ted Cruz or Jeb Bush that attacked him on the Planned Parenthood thing. And I remember hearing his position on Planned Parenthood. I was disappointed on him. He said last night that he thinks that they do a lot of good works and they should continue to be funded, but not for abortion. So I personally think that he's just naive on the issue and he didn't research it properly, but he did say not on abortion. But he was just melting down last night. He was talking back, he was cross-talking, he wasn't waiting for the moderators, but he got his points across. I'm really surprised the moderators let him go like that, because he was Brit. You're not supposed to cross-talk. So that's what happened. And of course all the pundits are saying he's not going to make it. And that if he gets the nomination, he'll never be elected president. Well, I think if he's up against Hillary or Bernie Sanders, he could be either one of them. But when I thought of Donald Trump, I thought of Khrushchev taking his shoe off. Some of you might remember that. He was in the United Nations and he took his shoe off and banged his shoe on the table in the United Nations. So Donald Trump would not be the first leader of state that is not the most sophisticated person. I mean, it's not ideal. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I still think that he's very sincere, and I like a lot of his ideas. And he was asked. I'm really glad he was asked this question and had an opportunity to answer it, so I could hear the answer. Would he use executive orders to accomplish his goal? Because he keeps saying, well, we're going to stop some big company. They just laid off 1,300 employees because they're moving to Mexico. And they're like, I didn't see it myself, but I'm told that there were pictures of the people just crying because they're probably not going to be able to get other jobs. And he was saying he's going to be able to stop that. So he was asked, how are you going to stop it? Will you write an executive order? And he said, no. He said, I don't agree with that. And I was really glad to hear him say that. I don't agree with what Barack Obama's doing with all those executive orders. He said, what you do, and I really believe this to be true from what I know about politics. I'm no expert on politics. From what I know about politics, what I've heard about Lyndon Johnson and Truman and all of these, well, every president is heavy-handed. You have to be a very powerful person to be president, and you get these senators into your office and you make deals. That's what you do. You make deals with the senators. You don't make ungodly deals. I think what Obama's been doing is making ungodly deals, whatever deals he gave to people to vote for Obamacare and all of that. But in a country, for example, where the government's not communist, in a country where the way it used to be, where we're all Americans, but there are Republicans and Democrats, the president gets the senators in there and he makes deals with them. I'll pass this bill for you, I'll do that for you, but everything Nothing was against the country. But that's what politics is all about, making deals. I mean, I've been hearing that for years. And that's what he said. Well, yeah, I will get them in and I will make a deal with them. I'll get the senators to vote for what I want to do, for the penalties that I want to put on the businesses that are not see, it's not a penalty for leaving the country, but he's saying, so if you're going to build your plant, if you're going to fire all these people and build your plant in Mexico, I'm going to put a tariff on it's an air conditioning company. Every air conditioner that you want to sell in America, I'm going to make it so expensive that it would be easier for you to stay in America than to stay in Mexico. And that's legal to do that. And that's what he said. In other words, he's saying, I'm this big negotiator, and I will make deals with these senators. I will get it passed. He has confidence in himself that he'll be able to get it passed. So we come down to the same thing as far as I'm concerned. I'm with him on immigration, and they sort of caught him on immigration too. I don't really know what he means. They said to him, what do you mean you'll take care of the people that you're deporting? Because at one point he said, well, we'll let them back in, but they have to come back in legally. So that's not ideal either, because we don't want millions of people of other cultures in this country. That's dividing the country. So actually, I thought the moderators did a pretty good job. Anything would be better than Fox News. They were disgraceful. He said, what do you mean we'll take care of them? And he didn't answer the question. He said, we have to take care of our own people first. We have to stop them from coming in. We have to take care of our own people first. So he didn't answer, so we don't know what he meant by that. So, but you know, he's not the only politician that's saying things that may not be exactly accurate. You know? We don't know what he would do. So he called himself a conservative because the conservatives are saying he's not a conservative because he believes in eminent domain. And I guess I don't know enough about eminent domain. I don't know that there's a lot to know about it, but what he said made sense to me. You can't build infrastructure without eminent domain. You can't build that pipeline, that Keystone Pipeline. Is that the right name, the Keystone Pipeline? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can't do that without eminent domain, but what he did say is the people that have been hurt by eminent domain is that they didn't understand that you can negotiate with the government and make a lot of money, because everything that I heard, the government pays you nothing. So maybe the people don't know you're supposed to get yourself a lawyer and negotiate, you know, for a big remuneration. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he said. And so that one time, in his entire career, one time, he used eminent domain for a private person so that he could build one of his hotels in Atlantic City. I'm not saying it was a good thing. What I'm saying is one time, and I was listening to Michael Savage the other day. Someone called up Michael Savage. He was saying 4 bankruptcies. And Michael Savage really told him off. He said, four bankruptcies. He says, why don't you stay positive? You know, did you know, I didn't even know this. Did you know that Donald Trump built a Grand Central Station? I didn't know that. He built Grand Central Station. He did this, he did that. I didn't even know that. Michael says he literally remade New York City. So, and of all the things he did, that's what you're focusing on. And so they brought that up again too. Someone said he went bankrupt 4 times. He did not go bankrupt 4 times. He never went personally bankrupt. And there were 4 companies, and then this is the second time I heard him say it, that businessmen used the Chapter 11 bankruptcy all the time. That's a business bankruptcy, you know, where businessmen use it all the time. And 4 times out of all the companies that he had, you know, so. So what do I, if I were to ask what were his negatives, what would I say? Oh, also apparently, yeah, they said to him also, some people say that you won't take advice from anyone else, or you won't admit that you're wrong, you know. And his answer was, I'm told that I'm wrong. He said, I'm told that I'm wrong all the time by my wife. You know? And then they said, well, what about business? And he said, well, he said, I listened. I thought this was very sincere. I received what he said here. He said, I hire all these people to advise me. He said, you know, sometimes they're wrong. In other words, what I heard Donald saying was, you hire people to advise you, but you're not obligated to take their advice. You listen and you make up your own mind. That's what he was saying. But what was interesting was nobody picked it up. I want to pray that everything that I'm saying right now, I believe it's the truth, what I'm telling you. I pray that my evaluation should go out in the spirit, that people should hear this. Whether you're for Trump or whether you're not for Trump, you should hear the truth. Okay? One of the things that they challenged him on, and I didn't know about this, that he's now being accused of using profanity. And he said he was speaking once, and he said something, and he went, I don't know what it said, so how can I make it up so you can understand what I'm saying? He said, go to, but I don't think it was a go, I think it probably would have been an F word, whatever he was saying. And they went like that. And he said, you guys put it in the newspaper that you bleeped out as if I said it. He said, but I didn't say it. But then he said, Donald said, I will not do that again. Well, here he was admitting that he was wrong, right in this very same debate that they asked him that question. He said, I will not do that again. I will not use profanity. Well, there you go. I think the man's teachable. I think he's teachable. I think he will say he's wrong when he thinks he's wrong. You have to convince him that he's wrong. Isn't that what I tell you? I want to hear what you all have to say, but if I'm wrong, you're going to have to convince me that I'm wrong. And I'm really wrong. But if I am wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. And I think that's what he was saying. So I don't know where he's coming from with Planned Parenthood. You know, I would hope that he would change his mind on that. I don't know what kind of good things they do, because he's believing their lies. You know, they say that they give mammograms and they do this and they do that. But as I understand it, based on the information that I receive, you know, everything that we know, it's what somebody tells us. We don't have any first-hand information. It's what somebody tells us, and we hope that we have the heart of God and that we can hear truth in it. From what I heard is that they don't do very many things, and all of the good things that they do, that there are other agencies that could do it, and that the agency is morally corrupt, and in my opinion, they should be shut down. And the money the federal government that's given to them should be given to other agencies that will do the mammograms, et cetera, et cetera. That's my opinion. So I would hope that Donald would change his mind on that he's not, I would hope that he hasn't been adequately educated on that. So that's where I am. So if someone were to say to me, what do you think his deficits are? I pretty much said it. He's not a politician, and he's what you see is what you get. So brethren, do you want what you see is what you get with a man that messes up from time to time? Or do you want what you see is not what you get, and a polished exterior that you never know what's really going on in their mind? Those are your two choices. So we'll see. We had someone left a comment on our message on Glenn Beck, the fraud, and with Donald Trump. And the guy that left the comment, he had a picture of himself as a soldier, but who knows if that's really what he was. And he cursed in the comment. He says, why don't you wake up? He hates poor people, and he hates the disabled. So right away I reject your comment. If you happen to me, it was just given a few hours ago, maybe in the early hours of this morning. For any reason you're watching this, I want to answer you. You know, I don't believe that he hates anybody, and you're spouting the rhetoric of the left. I don't believe the man hates anybody. He certainly doesn't hate poor people. So why do you say he hates poor people? Because of his stand on immigration. And that's just a provocative statement that's designed to tear down godly thought process and legitimate problem-solving mechanisms in the mind. Because when you attack people like that, if they're not defensed against people like you can cause them to do away with rational thinking. He doesn't hate anybody. And you don't understand the immigration situation. That if it's not stopped, this country is not going to be America anymore. It's going to be an Arabic state. And as far as him is hating disabled people, I don't know why he did that. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. They said he mocked someone who was disabled. And with all of his success and with all of his money, and with I think he's very knowledgeable. You know, he's not very sophisticated in some areas. You know, it's not politically correct. God forbid I should ever mock a disabled person. I hope that I never ever do anything like that in my life. But I know when I was a kid, people used to do that. You know. And make fun of me. Oh. He shouldn't have done it. You know. I'm sorry that he's not sophisticated enough to not do that, because that problem never touched him. You know. But it doesn't take away from the positives that he has. You know. Can he do the job? You know, can this imperfect man, who's not a politician, you know, can he take care of us politically? Oh yeah, the big blow up, I think that was why Donald blew up, over what Jeb was saying about ISIL. Yes. And Donald was genuinely upset over what Jeb was saying over ISIL. And pretty much, if I can, this is my understanding of what he said, that we need to take out Assad. And this is the issue, brother, and I've talked to you about this. Okay? There are like multiple wars going on in Syria. Okay? And there are multiple rebel groups. We're supporting the rebels. And one of the things Donald said is, we don't even know who we're supporting. We don't even know who these people are. But his main thing that he said is, that's what he said, Jeb is wrong. He's absolutely wrong. And he was passionate about it. And I happen to agree with Donald. He said, you don't fight a war on two fronts. You don't try to take out ISIL and Assad at the same time. You have to take out ISIL first, and then you deal with Assad. And Ted Cruz didn't say I agree with him, but when Ted Cruz was asked the question, he said the same thing. You don't take them both out together. And so they're in a disagreement on that. And then Jeb Bush was all against having anything to do with Russia at all. So Jeb Bush was saying something to the effect of that Russia's not really doing anything in Syria, but everything that I've heard. And then, again, Ted Cruz agreed with it, that Russia is fighting ISIL. We should be, listen, we teamed up with Russia during World War II. You know, war makes strange bedfellows. You team up with Russia to take out ISIL, and then if you don't agree on Assad, then you separate. So, this is a strong divide in the country, brethren. You really need to make up your mind on what you think about this. This is a strong divide in the country. On those that think that Russia is the big bad bear, I won't say the big bad wolf, the big bad bear, and it's not the same Russia from 20 years ago or 30 years ago. We are on the same side in that we both want to take out ISIL, just like we were on the same side in World War II. So Donald got very upset over that issue. And again, he wasn't a politician. I see him as a man that has a very passionate, he said he's the only one that said don't go into Iraq, so he seems to be very politically savvy. And he was all upset over this current wisdom that's coming down from the Republican Party, from what I understand, because Michael Savage agrees with Donald on this. Well, that Donald agrees with Michael Savage on this, that there's the people that are, you see, these politicians, brethren, they're, how am I going to say this? Donald is saying, well, he's what you see is what you get. He's saying, I don't know that much about this, but I'm going to have the best advisors, but when I'm elected president, I am going to be in a condition to make the right decisions. I'm going to be educated by the best advisors. That's what he's saying. Well, brethren, these politicians on the stage, they're not doing anything different than he is. The president isn't doing anything different than what Donald is talking about. All of these advisors come in and advise them. And you listen to your advisors. So what Michael is saying is who is it in the Republican Party that's advising these other candidates that Russia is our enemy? Because there's talk of going to war with Russia. And Michael has been saying for a couple of weeks now, who is it that's advising them? He says it's these old, can't think of the word I want to use, these old establishment Republicans, the same ones that advised George Bush to go into Iraq, and it was a disaster. So whoever's advising Jeb Bush, this isn't Jeb Bush that has his own expert opinion. He has all these advisors around him, exactly like what Donald is doing. Who is trying to study everything? You get briefed. You have your experts come in and they brief you. So that's a big issue in the country, how to deal with Iceland. I don't trust our government in the Middle East. And so that was when Donald blew up. You know, and I think he was passionately concerned about the country, but he blew up. It wasn't very presidential. And then he also said, and he was cross-talking, and he said, you don't even know who these rebels are that you're arming. We're giving arms to these rebels. You don't even know who they are. In other words, they're probably Al-Qaeda also, different groups of Al-Qaeda. So I think Donald's right about that. So this is a real challenge for the American people, and I just hope that they're up to it, because I see some of the people that I talk to, it scares me half to death over who's voting. But the bottom line is that God is in control. And I think that Donald can do the job. And I think he's honest, and I think that God would influence him. And I'm completely disgusted with Ted Cruz. So I think that's all that I have to say about the debate. Donald won the Drudge poll. I think he had 50-something percent, and Ted Cruz had 24%, on the Drudge poll, which that's our conservative group that go to Drudge. So I don't know that there's anything else. Well, I won't talk about Judge Scalia. You know, the issue with Judge Scalia, I'll do it all at once, is that now that there's an opening on the Supreme Court, and Obama has less than a year to go. According to what I hear, and no one refuted it, no lame duck, and Obama is called a lame duck president because he has less than a year to go, so he's on his way out. He's called a lame duck. His power is limited. Everyone's looking to the new president coming in. And he said, several people said that no lame duck president has ever appointed a Supreme Court justice. He has the authority to do it. Obama has the legal authority to do it, but no lame duck president has ever done it because it's not ethical. It's not right to do it. That's something that the new president should be doing. But Obama is not ethical, and he's not moral, so he's going to do it if he can. So when the question was asked about, I thought Donald gave the best answer. And his answer was very clear and very concise. You know, I think the question was, do you think Obama should? Something like that. And Donald's answer was, I think that he should, but I think that the Senate should oppose him. I don't know if he said, I think that he should. If he said, I think that he should, what he really meant was, I think that he will. But the Senate has to approve the appointment. And he says, I think the Senate should oppose him, that it's not, in other words, it's not right that he should do that. And it was a clear and concise answer. And it looks like the Republicans may hold out here. They have to agree. There are 14 Republicans that would have to, I may not have this exactly right, but I think there are 14 Republicans that would have to support Obama to appoint a Supreme Court justice. You'd have to buy off 14 Republicans. I may have that in the number. So let's hope that. Now, a thought came into my mind, and I'm not going to say that God told it to me, because I said, Lord, you're in full control, you know. how does this happen? Anthony Scalia, 79 years old, the strongest conservative on the court. He looked, 79 years old, he looked like he was in very good health. I saw a recent picture of him. It wouldn't surprise me to know that he was murdered. So they're saying, well, he died of natural causes. Well, they said Breitbart died of natural causes too. You know, he was either killed with some poison that doesn't show up in his blood, or he was killed by witchcraft. So when I prayed about that, I said, well, this is a really serious situation here. Because the Supreme Court was 5-4 conservative, and not really conservative. Kennedy goes both ways, but he frequently voted with the conservatives. But with another liberal justice on there, major issues are coming up this June. Issues on the first time the Supreme Court is hearing the case on abortion. Now remember, the problem with abortion, brethren, is Roe versus Wade on abortion. You need to understand that there is no federal law that prohibits abortion. Okay, what the federal law did, maybe I didn't say it right. Abortion is an issue of the states. Each state, according to our Constitution, should be setting its own standards for abortion. And this Roe versus Wade took that authority, took it illegally away from the states. So if Roe versus Wade is overthrown, it means the issue of abortion goes back to the states. And the states have a referendum, the people can vote for it. So it's very unconstitutional, and it should be overthrown because it's unconstitutional. Abortion, Roe versus Wade is abortion, and there are other major issues that are conservative issues, before the court that are coming up in this June. If Obama succeeds in appointing a liberal justice, it's going to be a disaster for conservative causes including gun rights. And I believe if the Supreme Court overthrows the right to bear arms, there's a very good chance there'll be a civil war here, because there are a lot of people that are not giving up their guns. Why are they not giving them up? Because they know what it means. So the country is so divided between the people that are awake and the people that are sleeping. I was one of those people who was sleeping. And I want to say this to everybody that's listening to me. You don't have to believe what I believe. Okay? My job is to wake you up. Are you thinking about this? Do you realize my job is to get you to understand that there's a valid argument on the other side, that you can actually think about it and pray about it. If you're one of these people that are saying, oh, that can never happen in this country, you're sleeping. It's happening in this country. The Constitution is being shredded, the laws are being broken to an alarming degree. It's happening. So what I'm trying to do is wake you up and start you thinking. Whatever you think, that's your conscience. I thank God that He woke me up, because I was one of those people. I said, it can never happen in this country. I'm a patriot. I love this country, but right now there are some very bad things going on in this country. I love my country the way it was, but I love God more. I love righteousness more than I love my country. If my country is turning evil, it's turning evil. If the government is evil, it's evil. I heard that Hillary Clinton, I don't know whether she initiated it or the press initiated it, there was a negotiation to do an article on her, to interview her. And she said, I'll only let you interview me if you write what I tell you to write. So this whole administration is into controlling the press. The only reason we haven't been taken over completely years ago is for the people, the patriots who are fighting. Because the majority of the people are fast asleep. Now, I knew there was something else. Let me take this opportunity to tell you this. And then I'll open the floor for discussion, and we'll see where we go from there. All of you know, I don't know whether you remember or not, but I did make you aware that Rabbi Jonathan Cahn, who's also a pastor, he's a Jewish pastor, and he's the man who wrote the book, The Harbinger. He doesn't prophesy, he just shows you this is what happened under these circumstances in such and such a year, and these same circumstances are existing now, so it may happen again. And we were all wondering if there would be a financial collapse. I think it was in September or October. And he teaches about the Shemitah, okay? So nothing happened, but listen, brother, there has to be a financial collapse. I think we owe $20 trillion right now. The federal government is printing money. The other countries are going off of the gold standard. What does that mean? I'm sorry, they're going off of the dollar onto the gold standard. They're going off of the dollar. What does that mean? Governments all over the world hold our dollars, see, because it has been, it no longer is, the foundational currency. Now, if the day comes, and it's coming, that these other countries say, well, we're going on the gold standard, we're going to be using other currency, we don't really need your dollar here. We have $2 billion of dollars, we want the gold for it, we want to cash in it. We can't pay them. If all the countries do that at the same time, we can't pay them. Because we're just printing money, it's monopoly money. So there's a big crash coming. And it's not just with America, it's going to be a worldwide crash. It's coming. I don't see how it can be avoided at this state. I don't see how it can be avoided. It's coming. So it didn't happen in September. Now, what I understand is I heard Jonathan Cahn. He's very interesting. He's a very educated man. And, well, that's another issue. Let me just stay with this. So this Shemitah, which I cannot reiterate it to you because I don't understand it well enough to reiterate it to you, but it's a particular time under Jewish law, okay? And it has a beginning and it has an end. So apparently it started in September, around September, it was either September or October, and when that date passed, I thought that was the end of it. I didn't realize it had a beginning and an end, that it was a time period. So apparently this Shemitah, during which in previous times, all the financial conditions that exist today produced some great tragedy in previous times. All of these conditions exist today. And the Shemitah began in September or October, and it's ending April 13th of this year. So I didn't realize that. When we got past it in September, October, I thought that was it. Apparently it's ending on April 13th of this year. So we're right back to the same old issue again. And I went before the Lord, because I've been doing this for years. Lord, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to buy gold? Do you want me to stock up food? What do you want me to do? And silence. And I finally got an answer from him. After all of these years, I finally got an answer from him. If it was him speaking to me, I think it was him speaking to me. And he said, there are some things that you just have to use common sense. See, the Lord wants us to be intelligent, spiritual males. We're spiritually male if Christ is in us. You're supposed to be using your intelligence. If you see that there are cars running down the highway, do you say, Lord, should I walk out in front of the cars? He expects us to use our intelligence. See? So, somebody contacted me last week from the ministry and told me that they came across a prophecy that was made by David Wilkerson. David Wilkerson is now dead. He was the founder of Times Square Church and Teen Challenge. God did many great things through him. And I think this prophecy came forth in the 70s. He described a lot of things that are happening right now. And he described the economic collapse that was coming. he said it would start with Germany. And Germany is right now in danger of defaulting. Germany, and of all the countries in the EU, Germany is, I believe, the most stable, the most economically stable country in the EU. And they've been carrying Greece's debt. Greece is like possibly the most irresponsible country. But Germany has been, Germany is to Europe like America is to the world, or used to be to the world. So David Wilkerson, now this was 1973. He said Germany will default first, then it will go to Japan, and then it will come to the United States. And when this happens, the banks will close for 6 months. Now, I've been advising you for years to have money on hand for the banks, if the banks close, when the banks close. It's already happened in Greece. The banks closed, the people couldn't get their money out, and then all the money that was in the bank was devalued. It's already happened. See? So this was a prophecy that came forth in the 1970s when when Germany defaults. He said, we have 2 weeks to get our money out of the bank. And you need to understand there'll be a run on the bank. They're going to close the banks. If everyone's ready to take their money out, they're going to close the banks. So, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm giving you this information. I believe in my heart that the crash has to come sooner or later. I have no problem believing the banks will be closed for 6 months when that happens. Well, who knows what's going to happen in that 6 months. They'll either devalue your money, or they'll trash the dollar completely and come in with a whole new currency. Or we'll go to a cashless society, no cash at all. Those are the possibilities. So, are you going to wait for God to talk to you, or are you going to be intelligent? You should have enough money in a safe place that's not in a bank, locked up somewhere that's not in a bank, to carry you for 6 months. And it's not a bad idea to have canned foods in the house for 6 months. I mean, you can have frozen food, but who knows what's going to happen with the electric. We don't know what's going to happen. So you're better off with canned foods, okay, for 6 months. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just telling you to think about it. We have to crash, brethren. This simply cannot continue. What we're doing cannot continue. And you need to understand that what's being done in the country is designed to make us crash. It's designed to crash the economy. Because the powers that be want to destroy our Constitution and destroy our whole way of government and our whole way of life, and bring in another way of life. They want to bring in a police state, which we already have a police state. They want to wipe out the Constitution completely and bring in an authoritarian state, which will include a one world religion. One world religion, one world government. They've already got the mark. You know, people are taking it voluntarily right now. I just saw it on the internet this morning. It's a tattoo with chips in the tattoo. So right now it's voluntary. So David Wilkerson, I want to finish up. He said he was so horrified with the vision that he saw, and he was preaching, he went on and on and on. He was so horrified with this vision that he was afraid to tell it to the people. He said the one thing that made him brave enough to tell it to the people was that God ended or wound up the whole prophecy with 5 words. God is in control. God is in control, and fear is blasphemy. Fear is sin. But then to say that God is in control and He's going to take care of you, that doesn't mean that you do nothing. You have to use your brains a little bit. You know? And that's all I can do for you. You all have to decide what you're going to do. If you do decide to keep some money in the bank, don't leave it in a place where someone's going to come in and rob you. You have to use your brains. You know? So, I think that's all I have to say about politics right now. Has anyone else come into the meeting?
Oh yeah, a lot of people are actually listening.
Okay, I'm going to repeat my very gentle rebuke to you all, brethren, that join us by computer. I just want you to know I am not trying to put you under the law. You're all free to do whatever you want if you're coming in by the computer. But I want you to know my opinion that it's not very nice of you. This has come to my attention that you're late all the time, that you come in, you miss June's music, you miss the beginning of the meeting, you miss the whole beginning of it, because nobody can see what you're doing. And I don't look to see what you're doing, but it's come to my attention for some reason of the recent weeks that nobody's here for over an hour, you know. And I just want you to know that it's not very nice to do that consistently. That's just my opinion. The brethren in New York, they're all here on time. They're here, they're setting up, they're working. They're traveling to get here. You don't even have to travel to get to your computers. And you can't be here on time. So that's just my personal opinion. I would never tolerate anyone telling me what time I have to be in church. So that's from me to you, and my loving opinion to you. Okay. So, opening the floor for questions or comments. Does anyone have anything to add or to say, or any questions about this exhortation on the political condition or the state of the country right now? Anybody?
Tony?
Hi, Tony.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The reference to three things. What Trump did, I turned on the TV last night when I got home from work, and I saw the debate, but I didn't watch it. But when you said, when you did an altercation about what he did, I remember the first debate when everybody was expecting Trump to do what he did at the debate last night. I remember Rush was talking about it because he's known for doing stuff like that, and it's one of his. They were saying it was one of his strong points, even though he does it in a wrong manner at times. So what he did at the debate, which is not wrong, because you all gave us some meaning what happened. Everybody was expecting him to do that in the first debate, and it didn't went off that way. So that reminded me of what happened in the first debate. Did not happen, but it happened last night.
Is that what they expected him to do, to be angry and lose it, or to just be very... What was it that they expected him to do in the first debate?
I remember the first debate, Rush and everybody and all the pundits were saying that Trump is known for speaking his mind, interrupting, cross-talking, etc., etc.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they was expecting him to do it in the first debate, but he did not. They were surprised. Even Rush gave a speech when he came on radio the next day. He said what he expected Trump to do, Trump didn't do, because he's known that was his strong point. Because people, he's a man, he speaks his mind, even though he speaks it out of context and don't explain himself well. So he didn't do that at the first debate. He did it last night. When I agree with you that, he's not a politician. The scripture came to mind that God take the simple things of the world to confound the wise. So everybody looking at him to be a polished person. Mm-hmm. And I remember Trump said in one of his, interview I watched, he said that most people don't understand that I'm financing my own campaign. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm paying my own money, but to the average person, he can say he's being rude, but he's saying by me financing my own campaign, I'm not bought by the lobbyists. These guys, and he gave a little list about how much money they're spending, they're being told what to say, how to, come at him, and he don't have to worry about that. So you don't have to worry about being bought. He say what's on his mind. Yeah. So I thought that was strong thing that he mentioned.
I'm glad you said that, because it reminds me of something else that I would like to say. That I thought that I don't know, the word on my heart is redeemed himself, that he redeemed himself with his closing statements. I thought that his closing statement was excellent, and I think that's what Tony was just talking about, his closing statement. When he said all these guys are taking millions of dollars from lobbyists, and they're doing and they're saying whatever they're told to say. He said, with me, you whatever he said about himself, you won't have that problem with me. So I thought that might have brought him full circle for anybody that was shocked. There was such tension there. his anger was so strong. I thought that it brought him full circle, and I thought it redeemed him, yeah. But I didn't know it was prophesied that he would do that originally. I didn't know he was known for cross-talking and all that. Yeah, okay. Okay, thanks for that comment, Tony.
And also,
yeah.
And also, Jonathan Kahn, I heard you spoke about him, and I heard what you just said in one of the conferences, and when I went to visit the conference here. And also the Chief Justice, I heard it on the radio, and it didn't dawn upon me until this morning when I saw it on the news last night. Based on what you've been teaching us, the first thought came to me, not that he's dead, but how can this happen? Because I never heard anything about he was sick, he was in the hospital, he was on the news, or anything. And then I thought about the 911 thing that we was taught on, that it got to be something more to off the surface, because like you said, anybody can say it's down natural causes, but the question came to me, anybody can do an autopsy on the